Welcome to the Lead with Your Soul podcast. I'm Michelle Wright, your host and fellow traveler on this journey of self-discovery. This podcast is designed for women navigating life transitions and yearning to embrace their true selves. I'll be sharing my personal journey from navigating the complexities of divorce and blending families to reshaping my career to something that resonates with my soul. With 3 decades as a teacher and mentor, I'm here to share insights, heartfelt stories, and practical strategies. Together, we'll explore how to cultivate self-love and create the vibrant, fulfilling life you deserve. Join me each week as we dive deep into the art of living authentically. Welcome to the Lead with Your Soul podcast. My name is Michelle Wright, and I'm so glad you're here. I come to you from Mission Beach, Australia. This is just a tropical wonderland. As I look out my window, I see palm trees, a beautiful beach, a pool, and there's these incredible birds called cassowaries. And they just look like they could be in the dinosaur era. They have beautiful coloring, look a lot like an emu, but they have blue and red on them and just this piece on top of their head that is like a duck-billed dinosaur, just this really big piece on top of their head. So that ties right in with where I want to go today, because today I want to talk about time. As we've come into Australia, we had the privilege to go to the center of Australia, to the Outback. We landed in Alice Springs, and then we did a 3-day camp out going to Uluru. You might know it as Ayers Rock before it was renamed back again to its Aboriginal name, Uluru. As well, we got to hike. Just close to that was another amazing rock formation called Kata Chijunga, which means many heads. And then as we came closer to home, Kings Canyon. All three are sacred sites to the Aboriginal people in the Outback, the people in that area of Australia. They have a lot of teaching, an oral tradition of teaching that has helped them for 80,000 years. Yep, you heard it right. I couldn't believe it when I heard that. 80,000 years. That's what the archaeologists are recognizing, that the Aboriginal people have been here for 80,000 years. They were the first people to actually take a boat and come to a different land. So they did that before the Polynesians went to other islands like New Zealand or Hawaii. And they also did that before the Vikings even. So it makes me so curious, even going back home and finding out about the Aboriginal and First Nations of Canada, just really finding out about their history and going deeper into how long they have been on that land. This sense of time is absolutely amazing. It also really brings to truth colonization. And that's an important thing to talk about in here, because actually in Australia, they didn't get to the Outback until, I believe, the 1860s. They have not been in the center of Australia for a very long time. We have maybe 4 or 5 generations of Indigenous Aboriginal people that have been impacted by colonization. And it happened swiftly. So, for example, they didn't have access. All of a sudden, you have this sacred site of Uluru. They renamed it Ayers Rock. They were climbing on it. They were doing everything and not respecting the sacredness of this land and what it can teach. So now that it is renamed Uluru, you can no longer climb on it, which I believe is extremely appropriate because it is 80,000 years. It has been teaching these people an oral tradition of how to live in balance with the land. And that is something that is essential And as the colonizers, we can definitely learn from. And it's a truth that we need to embrace in our own lives, whatever that looks like. When we get to Katajunga, which is it's a different kind of rock. And you can see it from when you look at Uluru and you look over there, and that is the men's site. They actually don't know the teachings about this men's site. The Aboriginal people have not felt called to teach the white person, the white man, the colonizers, about the significance of Katajunga. They just have said it is very significant. So actually, when you hike in it, you cannot take your camera. You cannot take pictures. And even as you go around Uluru, there are places you cannot take pictures of the rock. And the reason is because the Aboriginal people are reading the rock itself, all of its indentations, all of its different caves, all of the different ways come with a story to teach the people from a young age, the oral tradition of where to find water, of how to live together, how to live in community, the importance of women following their intuition and knowing to listen to what's going on and act on it. And that was just the small little, and they called it childlike story, because we don't get to hear the full breadth of the story. In our tour, we just heard the small stories, and our guide was able to say, this story is given and it's what they tell children. So that's what we get to hear right now. We haven't yet come to the point where we can understand the depth and the breadth of it going deeper. So that is very powerful. As we went to Alice Springs as well and Uluru, it is a very significant place. When you go there, you can feel it is significant. You're driving across this extremely hot, flat desert, and it looks like there's not a lot out there. You do see sand dunes, so there is some sand dunes and this red hot sand. And you think there's not a lot of life that can happen here. There isn't a way that people could live in this outback area. And yet there is. And they have lived there for years, which is absolutely amazing. But as you come over the horizon, all of a sudden, Uluru comes into your vision, just this huge red sandstone rock. And it takes your breath away. It is different from absolutely everything else. And you can't help but feel it has a deep significance to this landscape. And if you lived here as a people for 80,000 years, it would have significance to you as a people. As we came closer, we were able to hike around. You can actually hike the 11 kilometers around Uluru. We hiked part ways, and then we would get in the vehicle and go to a different spot. And it was absolutely amazing. And we were able to see it just lit up in the setting sun. It just came alive with this bright light as the sun was setting. And once again, you had this sense of how significant this is. At the same sunset, there were various Aboriginal people who were selling their paintings, and their paintings really talk about time. And they talk about time being past, present, and future, all being together. And I found that so amazing and interesting because it's like quantum physics. It's like what we're just beginning to appreciate and understand, that time is not linear, that time is not this click, tick, tick moving forward, but rather instead that time is this fluid force, this fluid energy that we can use in our lives. And I saw that in the artwork. And when we were later in Alice Springs, we had an opportunity to talk with Indigenous artists, and they were able to tell us a little bit more about what was going on. And they talked about dreaming and dreaming being a way that they were able to connect with the stars. They were able to dream into being rain. They were able to dream of food, kangaroos coming. They were able to dream back to the beings that created them and their creation story. And so it was this fluid way of going back and forth. And it made me think about myself and time and how time, in so many ways, being a colonizer and recognizing that a Western viewpoint has time being very linear, going one way. And so as you allow yourself and your imagination to go past that and see time, like quantum physics is saying, that you can have the past, present, and future all at the same time. So I was thinking about the past, and the past at times for me has been a real source of challenge. I've had these flashes of memories come back, and I'll have shame, I'll have anger, or I'll have frustration or sadness for what could have happened, what didn't happen, and what I wished would have happened or didn't happen or wish wouldn't have happened. And dealing with time is finding this fluid way of going back into those places and healing that. So now when I have an image come up of myself and I have that shame, that guilt, that anger, whatever that may be, is putting my hand on my heart and saying, I ask my angels, I ask my guides, my ancestors to help me heal this thread of time. And recognizing that this thread of time, as I heal it, heals all those in my lineage, all the way back and all the way forward, which is just a profound thought of healing. So the more I heal in time, the more I let go, the more I'm able to recognize when I'm in that resistance. Sometimes I can have those feelings and it's almost like walking in molasses. It's just like a big, deep snow and you just can barely move. And then I have to stop and be curious and say, where is this emotion coming from? This shame, this guilt, this worry, whatever it is, it's in the negative. If it's in the positive, it's easier to process, it's easier to flow with. So it's usually the negative that I am looking at focusing on to heal. And sometimes what I will do is I'll pull cards, I will journal, and I'll be asking myself these questions. What is it that I need to love myself? Maybe it's inner child work. Maybe it's going back and truly recognizing for myself that I can let that go. For example, when I was 4 years old, I was sexually abused. And for a long time, that story, as you grow older, stays with you. And you don't recognize that 4-year-old had no idea what was going on, could not stop it, and was not responsible. So maybe you have a traumatic event from a childhood. Maybe it's not as big as sexual abuse. Maybe it's feeling left out. Maybe it's not feeling loved. Maybe it's not feeling cared for. But whatever that feeling is, it's recognizing it and it's holding your heart and healing and really honestly saying, I heal all the way past to that moment. And I heal all the time, going all the way back and all the way forward. And just really seeing that green, I see green, that green energy of healing going back and forth throughout all time. And that's how I've started to really look at time, the past, and how it can impact me in my future and in my present. And now we've been on this amazing journey for the last 7 weeks here in New Zealand and Australia, and it's been incredible. And one of the things that both my husband and I have been very intentional of is ensuring that regardless of where we've been and where we're going, that we are present. So today we are present at Mission Beach. Today we are curious. We are vibing with this landscape. We are vibing with this ocean, with this sand, with this flora and fauna. And over the last 7 weeks, it has been so diverse what we've seen. And to allow yourself to be fully present in that moment and to be totally in gratitude, to be totally in thankfulness. And I have had a curious thought that I have to deal with, which is, this is so amazing. Am I really worthy of this incredible experience that I'm having? We're snorkeling on the Great Barrier Reef and we're seeing turtles. We're seeing just this beautiful wildlife and being present and knowing that just because I breathe, I am worthy. I'm worthy of this moment of time. I'm worthy of being the best and the most I can in this moment of time. And now sometimes it hasn't been all awesome. Sometimes coming from Canada and being in tropical areas, there's a few other creepy crawlies that are a little freak me out. And we thought it was a good idea to just sleep in a sleeping bag on a picnic table in the Outback. I thought for sure I was going to get eaten, perhaps snake. And it did rain. I'm going to tell you, it did rain. It was a beautiful full moon. So you had the light just shining right down on you, which was so bright. And I woke up in the morning with ants in my sleeping bag. Yeah, being present at times can be crappy. And I think it's okay to just be present in that moment and to laugh and be curious about that experience, about what's going on. And to be saying, I'm glad. In the end, I was glad that we took that risk. I was glad that we tried it. The next night we did sleep in a tent and I was so glad for that because it rained again and we would have been soaking wet. But it's moments like this throughout this whole time that we have made sure to try and be in that moment. And I do also have to catch myself. I know when I'm at home and I know when I'm here. That death scrolling, that going on social media or just listening to movies or listening, there is a time and a place. So how do you organize your day? There is some times when I'm going to bed, it helps distress me. So I'll listen to my books on tape and it just helps relax me and helps me go to sleep and helps me feel safe. So you can do that. But I think it is starting to wonder for yourself, for myself. I've caught myself in the middle of beautiful Mission Beach, scrolling when I could be just experiencing the sun. I could be looking at the dragonflies flying by and the butterflies and just enjoying and feeling with my heart, with my soul, with my body, where I am, just being present to the vibes of this place. So I've been really working at that. As I said, those are the two things that surprise me though, is that feeling worthy of it when it's going so well and finding that I need to be present. I find with our technology, it's easy not to be present. It's easy to go into technology and not be in the earth and the time that we are. Now, the future. We have to have the future. We have to move forward. So even on all this trip, we have to know where we are. We're at Mission Beach, and we have to plan for where we're going. We know that we have to be at a certain place because we're going to take our plane and we're going to be flying home. So where do we want to be between here and there? What are the experiences we want? And it's the same in our lives. We have to have a sense of what is the future that we want to create. And when we think of our lives and we think of the future that we want, we have to think about what are the seeds right now I need to start planting. Maybe it's courses I want to take. Maybe it's experiences I need to have. Maybe it's technology I need to buy for my podcast that I need to try out and work because in the future, this is what I want to create. So what do I need to do today so that in a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I can really be moving forward in a way that I would like. Now, the trick for me, and I didn't know this, and I am learning it again and again. The trick for me about future planning is surrender. Once you've planted those seeds, once you've taken the course, you've got the stuff, you've done it, then you need to surrender. You need to know that it's going to happen and things are going to go well. When we went to the Great Barrier Reef, this is an example of what's been happening. This has been an amazing trip for us, and I need to tell you why. Because we have had rain clouds and storms in and around for the whole 2 months. But every time we go to our next place, so travel days tend to rain, but we're at our next place and it's not raining. We have had the one time you're in this place, the sun comes out and we're able to have an amazing hike and see everything we wanted to see. Again and again, this has happened for us. So we have this reef stay planned on the Great Barrier Reef. We're going out to Hardy Reef on the Great Barrier Reef, leaving from Arley Beach. And it is raining buckets. It's rained all night. You can just hear it. And I'm going, this is going to be a difficult experience with so much rain. And I was worried about it. So that's what the future brings is anxiety, worry, control, all of those things. That's not what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to say, this is the experience I would like to have. And then we surrender. Because if it doesn't go as planned, what can you learn from it? What did you need to discover about yourself, about someone else, about the experience? We're here to be human. We are here to live lives that are not just all happy sun and roses. We are here to live lives that are difficult at times because it's in those difficulties and dark times that we're able to grow and expand and learn and evolve to a higher level. And this is through surrender. And I have been learning to surrender. It has been the hardest thing as I surrender into the future. So being in my present moment, forgiving myself in the past, being in my present moment and surrendering into the future. So I'm surrendering, putting my hand on my heart and just saying, I'm surrendering, whatever it will be. We met this beautiful young man on the ship going out, and he was from the UK. And he would have loved to have the reef stay. And I said, oh, yeah. I said, we have the reef stay, but it's just going to rain. I don't know how good it will be. And he said, it doesn't matter. He said, I tried to get the reef stay and I couldn't get it. It's all sold out. You are so lucky, rain or shine, to have this reef stay. Now, was that guy an angel? Yep. I would say this is an angel, an oracle in human form, coming to remind Michelle about it doesn't matter if it rains. This is an incredible experience. And to be honest, it rained the entire first day, but you're in the water. We did some scuba diving for the very first time. We did some snorkeling. You're in the water. You're wet. So does it matter if it's raining? Nope, it didn't. And I completely changed my attitude and just said, it will be what it will be. And I'm going to enjoy it. Just like this young man was enjoying every moment that he could. And I saw him just as he was getting on the boat, and he's just, you are so lucky. Enjoy your night. Enjoy it, Michelle. And incredibly, you will not believe it, as this ship takes 100 people, and we are left with 16 guests. There are 16 reef sleep guests that are left from many different countries on the boat. It is silent. And the rain stops and the clouds clear and you can see the sunset. And it was absolutely incredible to be in this silence from the busyness of all the people. We had this tortoise now come in and just chew on the edge of the pontoon that we were on. We took a boat further up the reef and had a snorkeling safari as she taught us about all the different fish and coral that we were seeing. There was a chef on this boat. A chef. Yep. I didn't realize that. It was the most delicious meals that you ever had. It was just wonderful. At night, there was lights on the bottom, so it shone around the pontoon, and you saw all these beautiful fish just swimming around in the light and also eating other fish as nature is. And it was incredible. The next day, woke up, sun is shining. It is the most glorious day. Beautiful sunrise. We have this beautiful snorkeling happening because at 11 o'clock, we have 200 people, a cruise ship and the other day ship coming back onto the boat, just like we were the day before, to experience the Great Barrier Reef. And that silence, that time with just 16 people along the reef was amazing. It was incredible. And as we parted, the rain clouds were starting to come in. So I think they might have had rain that night. And I'm not sure, does not matter. But it reminded me of surrendering to the future. We actually had no control. And I was anxious about it and I was worried. And I invite you to think about where in your life, when you think of the future, you do need to think about the future. You do need to plan. You do need to have a map. One of the things that I have done is I have done a interview with my future self, either 10 years, 5 years, 2 years, 1 year, 6 months, an interview with myself. What did I need to know? Another question you can ask, if you had a magic wand, what would you change for the future? So standing in the future, if you could change one thing, what would it be? Using your magic wand, you could do anything at all. What would it be? And as you interview yourself in that person, so make sure you just go into a meditation and you think about yourself in that future. What do you look like? What do you sound like? Where do you want to be? What do you want to be doing? Who do you want to be with? What do you want to have surrounding you? So really take time to think about that and just get into that energy, get into that imagination of that person. And then now take out your journal and start interviewing yourself. So, what do you know? What would you tell yourself now, 10 years earlier, 5 years earlier, 6 months earlier? What would you tell yourself that you need to do? What is the magic thing that if you could shift it, you would? And then process, reflect on that as you come out. I want you to think, what are the things that today, the knowledge that you need, skills, different types of learning that you need in order to be that person in the future? What is it you need to heal in the past? What is it you need to do in the future to be present? Because you want to, in this present, take that energy from the future that you want to create and be, and you have to live it in the now. So just like I sat on that boat, and before I talked to that young man from the UK, I was worried about the rain, and he said, "Oh, it's going to be amazing. I wish I could be you." And I shifted and I said, "I am so lucky." And I sat in that luck. I sat in that gratefulness. And I can tell you, maybe it would have rained, but I had already shifted. It didn't matter what happened because I had shifted to say, this experience is going to be amazing. And then I continued to be absolutely astounded at every single gift that was given to me in that moment. The people I met, what I saw, it was just incredible. So for you, as you're in your transitions, as you're in your life, I invite you to think about time, the past, the present, and the future. The Aboriginal people in Australia, have been working with this for 80,000 years. And science through quantum physics is bringing it to us, however you get to it, whether it's a spiritual, whether it's a historical, an archaeological, however you get to this understanding of time and the fluidity. I invite you to start exploring how you can heal past, the present, and the future, and really heal shame, guilt, inner child, things that have happened, maybe things that you're worried about will happen in the future, and bringing yourself back to gratitude and grace. And grace is a huge, big piece for me, giving ourselves grace for our messiness, for the way that we interact with the world and show up every moment doing the best we can. And when we don't show up in every moment doing the best we can, giving us grace for who we are in that moment and loving ourselves, because that next moment, we get another moment to heal, to be present, to move forward. It will be so exciting to hear how you think about time, how you interact with time. If you do any of these exercises, it will be interesting to see how they help you heal, how they help you move or expand or explore different aspects of yourself. Until then, keep living authentically and lead with your soul.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives us an opportunity just to take those few little steps forward, and see where it takes us. Yeah, it's good. So then that we get to the full moon. So the light grows more and more and more and more, obviously, on the face of the moon. And then we come to the full moon, and bang, there it is. We have this massive amount of illumination, and we know that we have super moons where the moon just looks enormous in the sky, just dependent on. Yeah, absolutely. It gives us an opportunity just to take those few little steps forward, and see where it takes us. It's good. So then that we get to the full moon. So the light grows more and more and more and more, obviously, on the face of the moon. And then we come to the full moon, and bang, there it is. We have this massive amount of illumination, and we know that we have super moons where the moon just looks enormous in the sky, just dependent on.
That wraps up another episode of the Lead with Your Soul podcast. I'm so grateful you chose to spend this time with me. As you navigate your own life transitions, remember to be gentle with yourself and embrace the journey. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe and share it with others who might benefit. Join me next week for more insights and inspiration. Until next time, keep leading with your soul.